dear students, how are you all? Hope you are fine and now you are serious with your studies since we have your first PT1 coming on your way from 28th of May. So I hope you know the syllabus now, you know the date sheet now, and please prepare accordingly because there is a change in the new date sheet that we have posted in your class groups. So new date sheet, just check which paper is there on which date and then prepare accordingly. Although there is no change in the syllabus, but then we have just rescheduled your date sheet. So please go by the new date sheet and prepare accordingly. And for the revision schedule, if we talk of, we have already covered 2 chapters that were there in your syllabus. One, chapter number 1 of history, and second, we have done chapter number 1 of geography. So I hope the things are clear to you. You have also prepared accordingly. Don't leave anything. It's again a reminder that any question can be content based in your exams. So you have to read the chapter thoroughly, and whatever I have asked you to underline, just try to frame different questions as I have done in my videos. Either it can be in the multiple choice, it can be in the fill in the blank form, or it can be in the form of very short question or even true or false. So any type of question can be asked from your book. So don't just rely on your notebooks, but then you have to read your chapters very thoroughly. So this was just a general reminder for you all. So now we are here to start with the first chapter of geography, though we have already done it, but then I'll be taking it again in our revision schedule, and I'll be telling you what type of important questions can be framed from this chapter, and you just keep on marking the lines from where the questions can be framed. So we start from page number 205 itself in your books. So let's start. First of all, if we talk of diversity in India, then the first question that comes into your mind is, what is diversity? So the very first question that can be asked in the short type question or even your very short question answers, it is the meaning of diversity. So we all know that we all are different. You might have seen so many children different in your classrooms even. Some, they are different in respect of language, their cultures, their dressing style, their way of speaking, the food habits. So we all are not same, and this is what the differences that we have on the basis of our physical appearance, our age, our sex, our language, our culture. So this is what we call as diversity. So once again I am repeating for the new joinings that we have in a school, so it will be very beneficial those who have missed our previous videos. So we start with the meaning of diversity. This is what I have explained to you, the meaning of diversity. Then diversity is a range of many people or things very different from each other. So this is what you need to write when I ask you what is diversity. Then you can explain your answer with the help of examples. Just as no two human beings are similar, they have different physical appearance, they have different food habits, they have different languages, then your mother tongue is different. Some of you speak Punjabi at home, some of you speak Hindi at home. So this is what, these are your differences. This is known as diversity. Then India is an example of diverse cultures and traditions. We all know in India we celebrate so many festivals. We have so many states, 28 states are there, then we have 9 union territory. So this means there are different cultures that are followed by the people, different languages are spoken by the people, different festivals are celebrated, and even the same festival is celebrated in different states with different names. For example, we celebrate the festival or harvesting of crops in Punjab, and what it is known as? Yes, it is known as Baisakhi. Then if we talk of any other state like Assam, it is known as Bihu. Then it is also known as Onam. So we have different names for Kal Baisakhi if we talk of in Kerala. So the same festival is celebrated differently with different names. This is the result of what? Diversity, different cultures, different traditions, different religions even if we talk of. So many religions are practiced by different various people. In India we have Jainism, Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, Islamism, then Zoroastrianism. So many religions are there if we talk of. And there is no foundation on you that you need to follow or practice that particular religion. You are free to practice your religion according to your wish. So this is what? This is diversity. Then we have one more important question, that is reasons of diversity. Now, what are the reasons for this diversity? So, it is based on geographical regions, we can say. Now, what are geographical reasons? So, let us see. It can be 3 marks question. It can be asked separately. So, it's not a short or a multiple choice question, but then it will be a long answer only. Reasons behind diversity. So, it is based on our mountains. It is based on our plains. I have already told you that the areas where you have coastal areas that are situated near the seas, rivers, lakes. So, fishing will be the main occupation there. And what type of crops will be grown over there where you have plenty of water available? Yes, it is paddy, the rice, because it requires a lot of water. So, the variation in crops is also dependent upon the geographical areas. So, this is how the diversity is being affected by the geography. So, this we have already done in our notebook. You can directly learn from there. Okay, next coming to the types of inequalities, the types of differences that is result of this diversity. So, we can say what is the result of this diversity? So, the result of diversity, if I talk of number 1, it leads to economic differences. Now, separate question can be asked in your exams. What are economic differences? What do you mean by this economic differences? Economic means something related to money. So, as the name suggests, it is clear that when you have variation in the amount of money, we call some people as rich and some are poor on the basis of money. So, this is what is economic differences. So, it's directly given in the paragraph that is there on page number 206. Economic differences between people mean the differences in amount of wealth or money that they have. So, this is what economic difference is. So, you can directly learn the definition of economic difference from here, and it can be a separate 2 marks question for your exams. Then you have your social differences. The second result of diversity is social differences. Now, a separate question again can be asked. What are social differences? So, what will you answer? What are social differences? Social differences are again based on 2. It leads to casteism, and then it leads to gender biasness. So, again 2 questions are here on your way. What is gender biasness and what is casteism? As the name suggests, casteism means the division of society into various castes. Before independence or even during independence, after some years of independence, what was there? There people were divided into various castes. They were known as scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. They were known as backward classes. They were known as Dalits. But then Gandhiji came forward and he called these people as Harijans. Harijans means people of God. Hari means God and Jan means people of God. So he said that there should be no differences on the basis of caste amongst the people. All men are people of God. So he coined the term Dalits, or you can say Harijans, for this backward classes. And the plight of these people during that time was very, very bad. They were not allowed to enter the temples or the offices, government-owned offices, or even the private offices. Then they had separate taps and wells to drink water. They lived in a different locality, away from the common people, and especially the ruling class, the priests. So all these were prevalent, and so this social differences include casteism, and it is also the result of diversity. So economic differences based on money or wealth that we have divided the people amongst the rich class and poor class. And then social differences are there, that is again based on casteism and gender biasness. Now, what is gender biasness? Gender biasness, again an important question, is the disparity between boys and girls. You might have seen in your house that sometimes boys are more favored than girls. Yes or no? If we talk of the rural area, especially in villages, what do we see? Girls are not sent to schools. They say that girls don't have right to education, whereas boys go to schools. Girls are meant only for doing the household work. Is it true? Should we follow that practice? No. So this is what is gender biasness. When you consider the difference between the boys and the girls, that is gender biasness. So this is again the result of what? Result of diversity. But then, in spite of all these things, we have been able to say that India is a country where we have unity in diversity. So India is a country where we have unity in diversity. And can you tell me, important question is there, who first of all gave this term of unity in diversity? Yes, we have already discussed. It was Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. So again you can be asked, who first of all gave the term unity in diversity? It was by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, and he also wrote these things in his book. Can you tell me the name of the book? It is Discovery of India. Yes, so he just talked of all these issues in his book, Discovery of India. So this is the name of the book, and first of all took the initiative and coined the term unity in diversity. This means although we all are different, we follow different religions, we speak different languages, we celebrate different festivals, like so many festivals are there in India. We have Diwali, Holi, Vaisakhi, Dussehra, but then what is there? We all are united, we all are one. So it is clear from our independence also. If we could have been divided, if there was no unity in diversity, then we could not have got our independence. It is because only of our unity in diversity that we have been able to achieve our independence from the British rule. And the Britishers, you know, they were of the thinking that we can divide the country and we can rule over the Indians. So they followed the policy of divide and rule. You will be studying all these policies in your higher classes. Divide and rule. So this was the policy that was followed by the Britishers. What they thought? They thought that if we will divide the people of India into different castes, so we can rule over them. If they will not be united, then we can separate them easily from one another, and then we can just conquer over the country India. But then Indians proved that even though they were Muslims, they were Hindus, they were Sikhs, they were Christians, but then they were all one. They were united, and we all together came in front, in limelight, and we fought for our common cause, that is independence. And Gandhiji was a real hero in this regard. So this is all about your freedom struggle. So you can be asked about the Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru's unity in diversity. Then our national flags, our national symbols, our national anthem, all these are what? National animal, national bird. These are again the symbols of unity in diversity. All these things reveal that we are one. So this was something about the freedom struggle. Then what is there is Urdu language. We have one more important question, influence of foreigners. So what is it? There is a mixed culture in India. Now why? Because India is a land where many of the invaders have been coming from the Greeks, from the Turkey, from the Greek country, from the Turkey, and when they come and settle down in India, then they bring their own culture, their own language, their own food habits, and that is why in India there is a blend of cultures and traditions. So one important question is, what type of foreign travelers were there who visited India? So one was Chinese traveler. Name of the Chinese traveler can be asked, that is Huan San. So he was one Chinese traveler. Then they brought their own cultures and languages and even their dressing styles. Then Urdu language was born from the blend of Hindi and Persian language, which was the most commonly used language in the ancient period. It was Urdu. And how it evolved? It was a blend of Hindi language and Persian language. So when the Persians came and settled down in India, so they followed the language of their country, that is Persia, and then we Hindus, we followed Hindi language. So along with the combination of both the languages, there arose one new language that we call as Urdu language. So that is why we say Urdu is a blend of two languages. One is Hindi and the other one is Persian language. So it is important 1 mark question for you. Then we have something of globalization. Now, what is globalization? Have you heard this term? Globalization means having good relations with other countries, with your neighboring area. So that is what globalization. And 20th century has shown a great deal of progress in communication, in technology and in transport. Earlier means of transport, if we talk of, we all know it is just a bullock cart, or they used to walk on their foot. So this is what the people of the primitive life they used to follow. Then technology, if we talk about, so we have laptops, we have ACs, we have tabs, we are using smartphones these days, and every work is possible by sitting in one corner of your house, and then you are connected to the whole world. Google, if we talk of, it's another technology. If we talk of important technology, we can just have answers for our queries by sitting and typing just one question on the Google, and all the answers are there. So it works as encyclopedia for you. So this is what? This is technology. So this is the result of globalization. So it has linked all the societies, different cities and the countries, and even the foreign countries. Then there is a difference that they have shown in the people of Kerala and Ladakh. They have shown you the physical features of Kerala. What type of life is led by the people in Kerala, what do they eat, what do they wear, what type of occupation is there in Kerala, and then the river at which it is surrounded. And then they have compared this with the Ladakh. So you can very well imagine Kerala, if we talk of, it is at the bottom in the southmost area of India, and Ladakh, it is in Jammu Kashmir. If we talk of, it is in the top north part of India. So just compare both of the regions. One is in the north and other one is in the south. Have you all seen the map of India? So you could see and locate where is Kerala and where is Ladakh. So Ladakh is in Jammu and Kashmir. We all know it is in north, whereas Kerala is just at the bottom. So it is in the south. So there is great difference in these two areas. So this is again an example of diversity. There is difference in the eating habits, in the dressing style, in the foods that they eat, the occupation that they practice, the culture they follow, the language they speak, the festivals they celebrate. So all this is the differences that we'll be studying in Kerala and Ladakh. Small paragraphs are given on these two. So many small questions can be asked from these two paragraphs. If I talk of Kerala first, let us see the Kerala. It lies between the Arabian Sea and Western Ghats. So the first question that comes to your way is, where is Kerala located? So you will tell the area where it is located. It is clearly given between the Arabian Sea and the Western Ghats. Then what type of occupation is there? What type of crops are grown there? We know, since it is a coastal area surrounded by water on the eastern and the western Ghats, so rice, coconut and rich variety of spices are grown there. Like we have cloves. Cloves क्या होती है? Long. Then we have tapioca, साबूदाना की खिचड़ी जो हम fast में use करते हैं. So it is tapioca, that is साबूदाना. So very cash crops you can say are grown in this area. So these are very costly crops. And rice, of course, we all know it requires a lot of water. So it is just possible to grow on the eastern and the western coastal areas only. Then you have pepper, cardamom. Cardamom क्या होता है? Elaichi. So it is just used as a flavor in the tea also. It's very good spice. Then pepper. Pepper क्या होता है? काली मिर्च. So these are very costly cash crops, and these are exported also in other countries, and we earn a rich amount of money by exporting these crops. So this is something. Then Jewish and Arab traders regularly come down to Kerala. Why? To trade in the spices. Then fishing is an important occupation. So which is the important occupation of Kerala? Yes, it is fishing, because we know that Kerala is situated around the rivers, alongside the river. So it is all surrounded by water. So obviously fishes will be there, and the main occupation is also there, fishing. So it is an important question. Then there is one more question based on this fishing only. What are the fishing nets of Kerala called, and from where did they get its name? So it is, the fishing nets used here are called China Wala. So what are the fishing nets used here known as They are known as China wala. China refers to China, and they look similar to the ones used by the Chinese. And even the frying vessels is known as China chatti. And then the utensils in which the Kerala people, they cook their food in the vessels. What these vessels are known as? They are known as China chatti. Again, the name is very similar to the used by the Chinese. So it derives its origin from the China. So fishing nets are known as China wala, and the vessels are known as China chatti. So two important questions are there from Kerala. Okay. Then some other foreign travelers are mentioned here who have come and settled in Kerala. Number one, if we talk of, it is Vasco da Gama. He was a Portuguese sailor. So you can be asked, who was Vasco da Gama? You will say he was Portuguese sailor who came to settle down in Kerala. He opened the doors to spice trade between India and Western world. Then you have Ibn Battuta. He was a Muslim Moroccan traveler and has also written about Muslims living in Kerala. So these are the foreign travelers who keep on coming in India, and they leave their impact on our country, on our dress styles, on our eating habits, on our cultures and traditions. We are influenced by their culture and they are influenced by our culture. And then there is a trade relation also between these countries. So whosoever comes in India, so we have trade relations with their country. So it is a very good relation. Okay, that was about Kerala. Now coming to Ladakh, just see the climatic variation of climate in Ladakh and Kerala. Ladakh, it is very cold area since it is situated at the height in Jammu and Kashmir. So people here face scarcity of water. They don't even have drinking water. They wait for the water in summers to melt down. When the ice melts down due to the heat of sun in summers, at that time only they get their drinking water, and water can be used for various purposes. So this is one important drawback that we can see. It lies now, where it lies? It lies in the mountains in the eastern part of Jammu and Kashmir. There is no rainfall. Such desert conditions do not allow agriculture, and as such, where there will be no water, where the climates will be very cold, can we expect any agriculture there? No. Though a very few trees are able to grow in this cold desert. So it is a cold desert. Another name for Ladakh is cold desert. Okay, people depend on the melting snow during the summer months for drinking water. And then what type of crops are grown here? Just see, as compared to rice that we have in Kerala, then we have important cash crops and we have spices. But then here we have apricots, wheat and barley. So these are really exported from Jammu and Kashmir. So all these are dry fruits, apricots we can say. Then we also have many fruits coming from Jammu and Kashmir, especially the apple is there from Himachal if you talk of. Then people mainly depend on sheep, goat and cow and yak rearing. The sheep in this region are special because they produce pashmina wool. So now just see the clothing. They wear woolen clothes because the climate is mostly cold throughout the year. So what do we need? Woolen clothes to protect ourselves from cold, to keep ourselves warm. So it is the sheep that is the most important animal for them because they rear the wool of the sheep, and then it is just giving them the pashmina wool that is very costly, and then we are able to make shawls, then we are able to make pullovers, jackets out of this wool. Then it is also known as Little Tibet. What is another name of Ladakh? Important question coming your way. It is Little Tibet. Now why it is called Little Tibet? See, it is called Little Tibet because the culture of Ladakh is a mix of both Indians and Tibetan tradition, because people from Tibet have also come and settled down in Ladakh. So it is also known as Little Tibetan. Tibetan influence is visible in food, in their music, in their dance, in their songs, in their poems, and even in their paintings, that is architecture. And that is why it is known as Little Tibet. Then Buddhism is a chief religion of the state. Which religion is practiced here? As compared to Kerala, it was Christianity in Kerala. But if we talk of Ladakh, important question, Buddhism is followed here. So this is the difference. Christianity in Kerala and Buddhism in Ladakh, because it is a house of monks. Many Buddhist people or monks have settled down in Ladakh. It is an interesting fact that Buddhism reached Tibet via
Ladakh, and they have also reached Tibet through Ladakh only. It has a number of gompas or Buddhist monasteries where the Buddhists worship their deities. Ladakh has a very rich oral tradition of songs and poems. The Tibetan national epic, that is the Kesar Saga, is performed and sung by both the Muslims and Buddhists. Then there is one national Tibetan epic. You can be asked the name of that Tibetan epic. What is it? It is Kesar Saga, which is performed both by the Muslims and the Buddhists. So this was something about Ladakh, where we have a mixed culture of Muslims and Buddhism. And the important saga is also mentioned, that is sung by both the Muslims and Buddhists. Then it is known as Little Tibet. Then sheep, Pashmina we have talked of, then about the climate. So these are some of the important features of Ladakh. A separate question can also be asked on Ladakh. So you can just go through whatever we have done, and with this we finish the revision of civics chapter number 1. So with this we finish our syllabus, and you know now very well what type of questions can be asked from which paragraph. So just revise it accordingly, and please don't leave anything from the book. So that's all for today. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, stay home.